the Hubble telescope. NASA TV coverage will also return to Edwards Air Force Base as soon as Atlantis' astronauts are off the shuttle and do their traditional walk around the underside. So we may end up having to cut this news conference a little short. We also have media at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston and Dryden Research Center out in California. So let's get right to introducing our panel. We have Ed Weiler, the Associate Administrator for Science Mission Directorate. Mike Moses, the Launch Integration Manager for the Space Shuttle Program here at Kennedy Space Center. Mike Leimbach, the Space Shuttle Launch Director. And John Madura, the Manager of the NASA Weather Office here at Kennedy. We'll start with opening comments and then open it up to questions. Dr. Weiler?
Thanks. I'll keep this short because I'm anxious to see the astronauts come off, too. Now and only now can we declare this mission a total success. The astronauts are safely on the ground. I was thinking about this morning coming over here, and one of the reasons I've told many of you many times is why does Hubble seem to have such a popular event with the people of the United States, and I say it's probably because it's a great American comeback story, you know, the big problem in 1990 and then the miracle in space in 1993 and a long period of success. Well, it just dawned on me. We've now entered the second chapter of the great American comeback story. This mission that just completed successfully was canceled January 16th, 2004. I remember that date because it was the day after my birthday. If you'd have told me on that day that I'd be sitting here 5 years later with a totally successful 5 EVA mission with a brand new Hubble once again that'll probably operate well into the third decade of its life, I wouldn't have bet you a penny. But Hubble is the great American comeback story, Chapter 2. Mike Griffin put the mission back into the cube in October 31st, Halloween, an auspicious day, 2006. And, of course, the rest is history starting now. The people at Goddard and the Space Telescope Science Institute haven't been sitting on their hands. They're already in the process of checking out the instruments. Everything is going very smoothly. No problems so far. So, once again, I'll end this mission as a truly great success. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Let's see, I'll expound on that and say that I, too, concur. This was a fantastic mission. If you look at the back-to-back EVAs and the ease at which we pulled it off, you know, we talked pre-flight about this being kind of a surgical repair mission, and then you saw some of the brute force that was needed, too, to rip a handrail off to get at the surgery. So hopefully the doctors weren't paying too much attention to that. But it was a great mission. You know, it's good to have Atlantis back on the ground. We wish you could have been here in Florida, but California is a perfect landing, too. So on the ground is good. Let's see, the Atlantis team, the 104 team, really did a fantastic job. They had 2 cracks at this. You know, we tried back in the fall, and then we turned it around when Hubble had the issue with the science computers. And we managed to reload and put them in a way better posture than had that failure happen right after we lift off. So that was kind of a very fortunate timing of events, and the 104 team did great. I also have to give credit to the 105 team, who's kind of stayed on hot standby the whole entire time with the STS-400 rescue mission, keeping that dual pad option available. If you think about it, we've never done that before. Had 2 vehicles ready to launch within 7 days of each other. That's an amazing amount of processing work, especially given the team sizes that we have these days compared to what we had decades ago. So a really good job. And then on orbit, the crew and the team back in Houston did a good job of stretching the mission out consumables-wise to let us take as many shots here at Kennedy as we could. But as you found out today, the weather just wasn't quite stable enough to commit to landing, so we took our good out to Edwards. On entry, you probably heard a couple of issues come back and forth with the crew. APU-2, Auxiliary Power Unit number 2, which is used to generate pressure for the hydraulic systems, was violating a limit on its drain line temperature. Basically, it was right at the upper edge of the alarm limit. No issue whatsoever. It was just toggling right at the upper limit, which made that alarm come on and then go off and then on again up as the heater kind of cycled. Just a nuisance for the crew. We wish we could have turned it off, but you're not able to do that at that point in the countdown or in the entry profile. So just a couple nuisance alarms for the crew, but the APU was running perfectly fine and no issues for landing. So the teams are going to head out and get ready for ferry flight back. We'll get Atlantis back here, get it back in the queue in the OPF, and start processing again for its next mission. We looked ahead. The next flight, Endeavour 127, we're still targeting the 13th of June for that flight. We had some weather delays over the weekend getting the payload in. We've had some other challenges with the local weather that was affecting Atlantis as well. But the teams have been looking at, they don't think there's going to be any delays to the launch date. but I'm not pushing them for an answer right now. We're going to let them take this next week here, get things rolling, and see where we stand. But I think the 13th of June is still a really good date for us. We're going to kick off our shuttle FRR next week, and then the agency FRR is in the first week of June. So right back to business of launching the next vehicle here. That's all I had, Mike. I'll let you answer.
All right, well, thanks, Mike. I, too, would like to congratulate the Hubble team. We're really looking forward to the images coming back down. And locally, Atlantis, you guys are the best. And Endeavor, everybody ready for Endeavor's launch. We had it ready to go in case we needed it. And I went to their scheduling meeting every day, and the flexibility that team showed us was just outstanding. We're in the process of preparing her for her roll around to Pad A. That'll happen next Friday night. And then again, as Mike said, we're targeting the 13th for that launch, and we're in good shape with that one. We have a little bit of time off. We're going to take tomorrow off, and so that team's in good shape too. I'd also like to congratulate Norm Knight and the flight control team in Houston. Great calls today. The atmosphere was unstable, and John's here to answer all those questions about the weather, fortunately. But he made a great call, and so I was real proud of that. So we're ready to press on now. Looking forward to the next mission and getting Atlantis back in about 8 or 9 days or so. Thanks. John?
Weather here in Florida lived up to its reputation. It was dynamic and tough to predict. It was especially hard in this weather situation. We were trying to forecast for around 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning when the weather is especially vulnerable for changes. If you listen to any of the interplay between the forecasters and Norm Knight, you heard them talking about convective temperatures and outflow boundaries and edges of anvils and a tremendous number of rules that they had to consider and factors they had to consider. And my hearty congratulations to the forecasters at Spaceflight Meteorology Group, especially Mark, who under fire had to answer those very, very tough questions and be on top of it. I've forecasted around the world when I was in the Air Force, and there's no place that is harder to forecast than here, especially when you're trying to make a 60 to 90 minute forecast as to whether or not you're going to meet a whole series of different rules. We would have been violating on the first rev for sure. The second rev I'm not quite sure about without an aircraft evaluation and whether or not the anvil that's outside right now would have been transparent or not. But it would have been very, very close to that. The reason we're concerned about the anvil is it may have electric charge in it, and when we come down through, it may trigger a lightning strike. But for sure, on the first rev, due to ceilings which are just coming across the field at landing time, and the thunderstorm anvil, which was definitely within the window and too close. And the second one, we were very, very close. So they were great calls. And they were calls that had to be made, I think, in favor of not coming here because there's a lot of unknowns that we didn't know how the weather was going to exactly develop and with what kind of timing. So again, congratulations to the forecasters for that, and I'll be happy to take questions.
Okay, we will open it up to questions now. Please wait for the microphone and then say your name, news affiliation, and who you'd like to answer your question. We'll start on the right side of the room here and work our way around.